Who's that?
Uh-oh.
Hello?
Uh-oh.
Do you and your roommates want bucket loads of free Wendy's?
Uh-oh. Andrea Pranzata has called into the podcast.
Do you want shit tons of free, fresh Wendy's?
Wendy's?
We don't.
I have a flat tire, but I'm right in Somerville, so I can't deliver this DoorDash order that I was about to deliver, and it's like hot, fresh, steaming French fries and Frosties and burgers, and it's just going to go to waste because I don't eat fast food.
What is the negative ramifications if you drop the ball on your DoorDash delivery? What does Wendy's do to you? Does that come out of your bottom line, or is that just free food?
Wait, what? Am I on speakerphone?
What are the ramifications?
Oh, yeah.
What are the negative...
I'm in Summer. I can't really thoroughly hear you, but I'm in Somerville. I'm in the middle of a DoorDash order. I have a flat tire. Can't complete the order. I have shit tons of hot, fresh French fries and burgers and chicken wings and God knows what else is in here.
Listen,
I don't eat fast food.
From what I know of you thus far, I'm not surprised by any of this.
Like to get this because I'm trapped here for an hour while I wait for the tow truck, or else it'll just go to waste. Would anybody like all this free Wendy's?
Andrea, the issue right now is you're on the podcast, you're on the show, and we were just talking about the pros and cons of corporate greed of DoorDash. So where is your stance on the DoorDash conglomerate, and where do you think it's going? Do you think that companies like DoorDash are going to start to have a monopoly over food as we decide to not leave our houses? What is your stance, and what is going to happen to you in your career now that you've dropped the ball on bags of Wendy's food that were clearly for somebody else?
Absolutely nothing. They're very... I do think they're going to take over because they're so flexible with the workers. They're starting to pay more now to the workers as well. Hey. But there's issues like this.
You seem very happy with this place of employment. I mean, I know that you do music, you do comedy, but I didn't know you DoorDash. I did not know that.
I'll tell you why I like it. Because I do music and comedy, there's going to be days of the week where I can't go to work because I could have a show. What I like about this is that you can log in and out whenever you want. If I worked at a regular restaurant, they might be like, bitch, you're coming in Thursday no matter what. So this gives me that flexibility.
Fair. I think the other positive is that you are forming a methodology of stealing food. I think you're not... You called with a premeditative idea that you wanted to drop us off a bunch of Wendy's. This did not just happen by chance.
I actually think you'd have to pick it up.
Well, here's the thing. You cannot... This is not... I'm not dropping it to you. Someone is picking it up. So it's not really free because there's no such...
None of you guys listened.
There was an asterisk. That's a large fucking asterisk.
Your problem-solving skills are niet.
Yeah, well, I'm still confused, but I think that the idea...
KYS.
She has a flat tire.
All right, well, listen.
Flat tire? How much clearer do I need to make this? I have a flat tire.
It wasn't very clear in the beginning. There was a lot of things thrown at us. We were talking about corporate conglomerates. We were talking about bags of Wendy's not making it. We were talking about your work-life balance. We were talking about a lot of things. So, listen, at the end of the day, we're in the middle of the show. We would love to come pick it up, but if you're still stranded in the woods with a bunch of Wendy's in an hour, we can come and receive the food.
All right. Call me when you're done with your podcast, and if the food is still here, it's all yours.
Okay, that's fair. The great and lovely, the one and only Pranzata, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
You're here.
All right, bye. That is my co-host's ex-girlfriend. And we made it clear on the show.
What a way to start.
Everything. We made it clear with Charlie a few weeks ago that everything Robbie does in here affects what happens out there. And that was a major reason for why the relationship might have ended. She is a lovely girl, but based on the information that now the listeners have of where she currently is in her life, things, it had its ups, it had its downs. And, but she's a free spirit. That's a good word for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Digestif. Welcome, guys. Another week, another digestion of the week in comedy, music, current events, whatever the fuck we think to talk about. The show doesn't have a huge identity. The show kind of travels over numerous amounts of topic matter, which I do think is nice, but we will eventually try to encapsulate a little more and start to target what exactly is going to be spoken about on the show. I am Sam Mushman, as always, comedian sommelier. To my left is the great and powerful Robbie Sco, a great musician and also has a wicked taste in women. And also our producer on the show, Lucas Perez, is here. And he looks lovely. He looks lovely. Yeah. No. You're doing everything right. You're learning how to produce the show. You got dressed up for the show. Your hair is somewhat together today, and you don't have dreadlocks yet. You look lovely. And also the one and only my lovely.
Now it feels weird.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We're gonna come back to everything that miffed me about your actions this week, but we're not there yet. So just calm down and just take the compliment, because we are. We're a team. We're a team. No matter what is said on this show, we are a team, and we are unstoppable. Especially when you decide to show up. We are completely unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, my lovely wife is on the show. The great Gina Mushman. I don't even know what she wants to go by. So one of her credit cards says one thing. Her Social Security says another thing. Her mother doesn't know what's happening. So there's a lot of things happening here. How are you, my love?
Mysterious. I'm doing well.
Good. It's been a long time coming. We've talked about having you on the show. We've talked about what your thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas would be on a number of topic matter that we spoke about. So I hope you're excited to dive in.
And correct you on all of them.
Sure. I mean, if you're going to be the literary police, then the door's right there, okay? We want to hear your actual emotions. People want to know the inner workings of my relationship, and I think people want somebody to tell me to shut the fuck up. So there's a lot of great possibilities where this conversation can go.
I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Robbie, how was your week? What's going on with you? A lot of things in the love life and entertainment life of Robbie Sco. What is new?
Yes, sir. So Friday, played a great gig with Nelly. Thanks for hitting me up.
Oh, yeah.
It's always fun to just throw together 20 or 30 songs real quick. See me sometimes play with like my scrawny Scandinavian arms kind of flapping to and fro, this keyboard, that keyboard. I'm still working out. Just like with a lot of my life, working out what to focus on.
Yeah.
So like I'll have like the bass guitar playing, bass synth sound over here, the keyboard sound over here. So that was that kind of a gig on Friday where I'm like, okay, I'm trying to communicate with this guitar player how to play this and that. But then
You held it down, man. That was tight.
I mean, we have to come up with a handle for you that is as good as that saxophone guy. We wrote the saxophone guy's bio.
Handle.
It's a great handle, right?
That keyboard, man.
And obviously, when Robbie plays, what is the one vibe that comes off, that wafts off of him when he's playing his instruments at once? It looks like he's meddling with the future election, right? It looks like he is meddling with a lot of the votes in Arizona, and it may become a swing state again, right? So something like the keyboard hacker.
The piano hacker.
That keyboard hacker.
That
piano hack. No, that's a whole different word. That wouldn't work. That piano hacker. Is there a brand for you?
Check it on Instagram now.
Because it coincides with your getup, right? You're wearing a suit with sandals, right?
Oh, spoiler alert. I guess the Spotify homies know now. Oh, geez.
You're a walking billboard for someone who moved to Tampa Bay, like wasted away in Margaritaville. You got out of finance. It was a little too much pressure, Or in your case, biochemical engineering or some other horse shit where you're partnering with NASA in your early 20s and you're like, you know what? I'm out. I had enough. So you moved down to Tampa Bay and you start playing 5 keyboards at once in an angry fashion. I think the brand is the keyboard hacker.
The keyboard hacker.
That's fun.
That keyboard hacker. You got to remember.
I like that. It can't be the.
Yeah, Lucas has corrected me on that a number of times. It's not the saxophone guy or the guy that doesn't produce the podcast. It's that
guy
saxophone
doesn't produce
guy.
the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing is keyboard. I like keyboards, but whenever I even post things on Instagram, I type in #keyboard, and there's girls with big tits just holding up this kind of a keyboard, this QWERTY keyboard. I'm like, oh, that's what that keyboard means too.
It's a beautiful thing because I think it also carbon copies what's going on in porn, right? Because the guys don't make shit in porn. The
gay ones do.
The gay ones do, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
they
the
make a
straight
lot.
ones that are down for a little pipe job, right?
That's anal.
Yeah, that's it. Correct.
Yes, that is anal.
Correct.
It is anal. It is anal.
Well, speaking of anal, we have an amazing wine today. We're going to be going
Ooh,
over.
segue.
We are tasting a red wine for I think only the second time on the show. The first red wine, I think we did a fun Santa Barbara Pinot Noir, but today is all about
That doesn't sound fun.
Argentinian Malbec. It was a beautiful wine. It was a beautiful wine. But today we are in Argentina with the
Argentina.
the King Tut grape of this country is Malbec. But I think the point here that I want you guys to think about when we taste this wine is this is not this grape's homeland. This is not the OG spot for Malbec. Malbec actually started as a French grape. It was grown just a little bit outside of Bordeaux, just south in a region called Cahors. And what happened was these were some of the first single vineyard Malbecs in the world, and it was a much more lighter, earthy wine because Malbec is a grape that represents its terroir well. So what is terroir again? It's the soil, the climate, the winemaking, the thoughts, feelings, emotions of everything going on around that vineyard. And then what happened was a bunch of Europeans decided to one day take over South America, right? Because that is what white people do. The other thing, too, is a lot of people that enjoy Malbec also enjoy Cabernet Sauvignon, which is probably the most popular wine varietal in the world, grape varietal in the world. And why is that? Why do people enjoy both? And the way I always like to tell people is if there is any difference at all, you know, why are the grapes similar? They're both fuller body. They both have a lot of fruit notes, right? But with Malbec, after you get all that brambly dark fruit and, that fuller body, higher alcohol, there's not as much going on, not as much to talk about. This is essentially Robbie's Tinder date or Robbie's Instagram DM, right? They both swiped right on a dating platform. They both enjoyed each other's 7 profile pictures. And then what happens, right? After 7 months of weird DM conversations of Robbie sending them links to his favorite DJ in Williamsburg, the relationship starts to fizzle. There's not much else to talk about after, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and fitted suits from Express. You run out of things to discuss. But if Robbie, with Cabernet Sauvignon, this is a wine that also has a lot of fruit notes, also has a lot of body, but it has a little bit of pepperiness, it has Italian spice, it has new oak flavors like vanilla, coconut, and coffee, milk chocolate. This is a wine that gets better over time, just like this might be Robbie's new formidable suitor, they seem to be getting to know each other better and better each week. That could be Robbie's Cabernet Sauvignon. So the point of this is, like in life, like anything, I think what Robbie needs to make sure he does is secure his Cabernet Sauvignon in life, in his love life, only when he is done plowing his dick through all the Malbecs. So it's just a more complex wine, but Malbec is your everyday kind of table wine for people that like heavier wines. And let's talk about our thoughts on this one.
It's similar to my life, honestly. I have a lot of Cabernet Sauvignons before I even experienced the Malbec, right? Just like a lot of long terms
You scream long term, but there's a little flame inside of you that's a whore.
Little nougat.
I could tell, because you have the charisma, and that charisma is sex appeal. Like, charisma is sex appeal at the end of the day, and you have it in you but when you would just look at you, I mean, you wouldn't think that.
Right. Picture doesn't really do it. I
think that you're growing into that kind of person as you get older, but, women are ready to get married at 17. So you've been hubby material since your balls dropped.
Yeah, and I said, I guess I have been growing into a little bit. Like I was really excited for my first date with the current suitor, and I was just...
Suitor.
That was your word, right?
I just love how she's the suitor.
She's going to be your suitor. Just remember that.
One of many.
And I was just I felt the ability to, like, in a conversation, just be able to bob and weave a whole lot of different conversations, like different ways. Like, okay, you're into technology. We've done this route. Yeah, this route. Oh, you're into languages. Okay, I've done a little bit of Mandarin, Chinese, all this. Oh, you're into music. I'm gonna go out on this. Oh, you're into computers. I can go. So like, I felt able to just handle a whole bunch of different things. But at that first day, I just listened my dick off and I was just like really just internalizing what was happening and kind of just like trying to respond instead of like boast or anything.
I think that's why this thing is working out so well so early, because you guys connected on all those levels. See, a lot of other women, though, getting back to the point Gina made, love the idea of those other levels, even whether they could connect on them or not. They're not going to connect on them. They just want to come on them, right? So, like, you'll start talking about computers and biotech and all the ways the world could end, and they're just coming, right? They don't have anything to contribute, but they wish they did, right? And that is a beautiful thing.
It's not just, what you talk about. It's how you talk about it while you're playing the keyboard, half singing in a sweet melody, like dripping.
Nice. And there's something about that combination from a female perspective, right, that is intoxicating.
Of course, yes. You can sing me sweet melodies and then fix my computer.
So now let's get back to the point about where we are right now, right? We don't talk about this a lot on the show, and since Gina's here, I want to touch on this. We are in the music lab. This is a space of creative energy. It's almost a space that's not big enough for the amount of creative energy that we bring into this room. And you made a point about the beauty of that when you guys bring, a few lovely ladies over after a long night of gigs and stuff, and you guys set up some weird theme night of Hot Pockets and Chianti and then weird purple gin drinks. You kind of mash a bunch of shit together, but you're all kind of jamming out, playing music and talking about, different parts of society.
Alien concepts.
Chicken and orange.
And chicken and orange, yeah. And there's so many layers, right? Talk about what that does to a woman's vagina when they experience all of those layers in 3 different men, let's say, in a room.
I mean, it's obviously an ambiance, but it's so different from what I would imagine myself going through in my 20s, walking into 3 men's apartment. You don't know what you're expecting as a female. Is it going to be clean? Is there toilet paper in the bathroom? And then I walk in and you ask me, what color mood lighting do I want?
See?
There's a difference.
That does.
I walked in today, there's fresh pancakes on the stove. It's like there's a different kind of ambiance that just puts our guard down, rightfully so, because you guys are good people.
Yeah.
So there's just an energy, and on top of that, I did marry a comedian, so it is part of my aphrodisiac. The creative energy is appealing to me. Everyone is contributing something different. So,
I'm honestly inspired a little bit by how Lucas does that. Like even one time at the local brewery, like he'll just go up like.
That shall be unnamed.
With the hat, with everything.
I think it's the outfits. Definitely have something to do with the
clothes makes the man.
Let's talk about, Gina, what the idea of the 2021 man, right? Which I am not. I am a 2012 man.
You
and
could totally tell that we were raised by boomers, both of us.
Yes, we've talked about this in the show for sure, and you've validated that just now. The 2021 man, it's a different type of man. What is the ideal? Let's say you were 22 now, right? Has the idea of a guy that you would be looking for, would that have changed now if you were out on the dating scene in 2021 compared to the early 2010s?
I mean, yeah, it changed with you, first of all. And that's part of it, because the creative energy tends to compete with masculine energy. And we're taught as females to want masculine energy, especially when you grow up in Lodi, New Jersey. My dad's a mechanic. I should have been a mechanic. I wanted to marry a mechanic. It all just, it's the circle of life.
It's a lot of grease.
A lot of grease. A lot of grease. And then I go to the city, one of my only friends to go to the city, even though we grew up 10 miles out of New York City. And at my first corporate job, I meet this quirky, tall, funny guy who does comedy on the side, and I watched all his silly little shows from college, and
You're
they were
leaving out a
adorable.
big detail right now, and I think Lucas would appreciate this. I had a pair of copper pants. They were tight. They were copper. And I think they were ahead of their time. They were ahead of their time.
That I saw him, he was running his fingers through his perfectly coiffed hair, frustrated as shit, trying to get a fax machine to work. I was on my interview, and I just saw him in these tall copper pants and like a beige shirt, just so frustrated. And he looked, if there's anything I could describe you, is endearing. He looked so endearing.
And like possibly not having a future. If I'm getting this frustrated with a menial task.
I feel like if you've gotten this far, you'll be okay.
Task.
It was a menial task.
The whole job was a menial task, and I was so incredibly bad at it. I was unable to get the job done. It was very similar, I think, to Lucas's TD career once he's done saying "Como estás" to 1 in every 10 guests that need him. Right? The menial stuff he didn't have enough brain power for. And, this was my version. This was my TD.
You didn't have enough sitting power. You'd just be like twitching in your little cube, and I would feel that energy.
That's what
Yeah.
I do. Twitch, tapping.
Oh, yes. And then when it came time to type, you would type with one finger really
That's weird.
angrily.
You do that now?
Still do that now. Never learned how to properly type. Wasn't a good student.
Oh, I thought it was an anger strategy.
There was a class for it. They taught you how to type correctly. I refused to let the information sink in. But we met at that job, and I believe my opening line I played the autism card.
You did.
What?
You cornered me
I cornered her.
to play the autism card.
She had a autism puzzle piece tattoo on the side of her ear, going down into her neck. It was centimeters above what would be the national trash bag line of neck tattoo, right? It was centimeters above.
Behind my ear.
Correct. Centimeters above. Centimeters below, it's a neck tat. Centimeters down, it's a neck tat. Where it was still technically regarding the U.S. and Canadian and I believe Austrian government, it was clarified as an ear tat. Right? But maybe in France it was a neck tat. Right? I'm just saying, maybe in certain places overseas that would be a neck tat. Point is, saw the ear tat, and I immediately asked you, do you work with autistic children? Because I sure have. And this is something I've done in college. So can we hang out based on this similarity? That's essentially was the concept I was trying to get across to you, right? And then you responded with, no, it's you have family members that have autism, and that was my in. And we talked about autism for 5 minutes, right?
You did. You said you played basketball with them.
That was very true. We had an autism day at my college, and we brought in a foundation.
For his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
BT Dubs.
Didn't drop that in a moment. Isn't there something beautiful about taking something good you did in a past relationship, using it in the beginning of a new relationship, and then letting it find out years later, oh, that was for somebody else, but at the end of the day, it was a great concept in my identity, right? It got me in the door.
At the time.
Got me in the door. So I had that conversation. Your thoughts in your head leaving the company cafeteria moments after that first interaction. You were not sold on me after that. It wasn't the best first conversation.
It wasn't necessarily the conversation. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but you have a certain look to you that kind of screams fuckboy. Mm-hmm. Maybe not so much now. You're screaming. You're
I
screaming.
wish I had fuckboy now.
Dog dad all over to me,
man.
and I love it. I'm loving it. But back then,
Our dog shat all over the house today, by the way.
Congrats.
Shat everywhere.
Happy to hear it.
Furniture?
The only two things I did was help edit the pod from a couple weeks ago today and cleaned the fucking carpets of dog shat. That's all I did today. But getting back on track, you went back to your desk. Initial thoughts, you were like, this guy's a douche.
No, if you recall, I had a boyfriend at the time, and I know, in knowing myself, I sat down at my desk and I said, Gina, this isn't worth it. Cheating is not worth it.
But then to later found out you've cheated on almost every guy that you've had certain
not that
interactions
one.
with.
Not that one, but yes.
Yes. Okay,
yes,
sure.
I've cheated on every other one. Yes, I have.
All right. Well, now that we know that, it's in a good place.
I'm married now.
I was able to get you to grab drinks with me, I think, a couple weeks later. Is that what happened?
And
that's when you dropped the news of the BF?
Yes, I did. Yep.
And then from there, I played the long game. I played the 1.5 year game. I was like, we're going to friend zone each other hard. I'm going to keep dating. She's dating. But every time this guy does some sort of tomfoolery, I'm going to have his back. Reverse psychology, right? So we would go out to lunch. She would vent about something going on with this gentleman who, I hoped and kind of felt like I knew they weren't right for each other, right? Deep down, I hoped they weren't because I thought we were right for each other, right? But I would play devil's advocate, right? There's something nice about playing devil's advocate. I think you appreciated that I would show his side of the arguments when we were friends.
I actually thought it was kind of condescending, but yeah.
No, so that did not help my case. This is good to know.
No.
Did it help my case or did it not?
It probably did because it definitely added for me. So I'm psychotic. So that kind of hatred I had for your condescending tone.
Yeah.
Also was kind of hot. It's hard to describe.
So
it's an ambiance.
The dating laws of New Jersey, I think, are a little different from like the other 49 states.
Yes.
For the most part.
Even dating someone from New York. That's why I honestly think it didn't work. I couldn't describe why I was acting the way that I was acting, even though it's sane. It's just a little different, and that's called New Jersey.
Well, babe, like Charlie says, everything that you do in here affects what you do out there, and that is the new quote of the show. We will drop that when needed. If you haven't listened to the Charlie training episode, this is a cue for you to go into the archives, give that episode a listen. But anyway, so back on track. We had a murky point where we didn't know what was going to happen. Timing, right? You were getting out of that relationship. I was thinking that I was into a person who I was also kind of dating for a while, and then shit hit the fan, and I essentially we were in that threshold, that month threshold.
It was 6 months.
But we were in a threshold. Let's
Is that a threshold or a hallway at that point?
Can we focus on the word threshold for a second?
Threshold.
Threshold means a lot right now. This threshold, right, was an opportunity for us to finally date a corridor. Yes. And I did not know if I wanted to jump right into this thing that even though I know that I wanted to have with this person for a while, I then asked you for 6 months. Was that correct?
Yeah.
And that was the day that I
months of
think
what?
you put my
6 months to decide whether he then wants to be in a... He wanted 6 months to tie up all the loose pussy.
He gave
that
you
had
an
going on.
ultimatum.
No, he
Oh,
asked.
wait.
He asked.
I
me.
asked for one.
He asked
very
me.
gingerly.
He
Can you
asked
give me an
for one.
ultimatum? That's what
He asked me to give him an ultimatum.
Oh.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And she gave it to me.
No. Like no.
Well, you did. You said you need to either.
Yeah, shit or get off the pot.
That's an ultimatum.
Now, yeah, but I'm saying now because you asked for 6 months, I didn't initiate that. We just both knew where it was going. We were best friends, spending every night together, spooning, not having sex every night. Like it's pretty much we were in a relationship.
Bob and weave with the sex. Bob and weave, right? Some nights Bob, some nights weave.
Oh no! So when was it? It was actually in December. Then I'm sorry, it was a while ago at this point that I got to a point. I went to Vegas. I tried to have fun in Vegas. I wasn't able to have fun in Vegas because I was thinking about this jerk the entire time. And on the way back, I had a little bit of a meltdown at the back of the plane, and I realized that I needed to, honestly, psychotically pull it before he pulled it. I needed to be the one to pull it, and now is the time.
For reference, I have been pulling out consistently up until this point.
Oh, you were using. You never even raw dogged it.
I was scared.
He was very much into condom using.
Scared shitless.
Yes, he was.
I had a very safe dating sex life. I was with condom every time. I would go through boxes, very on the ball with it. On the ball with the condoms.
And you know how that helps for a lady. Here's a tip, ladies. If a man is very protected, it's very easy to know where he's been by counting his little stash, especially when you're there 3 times a week.
And that, I think, kind of postponed certain things because you would come in, you'd count, you didn't like the number you got. That would throw us off for a few weeks.
But he wouldn't know.
Recount.
Call it a recount.
He wouldn't know why I was acting the way I was acting, but then at the end of the day...
I just put a few in my glove box.
No, he said he took them down to Cape May.
That's fair. Yeah, I took a few down to Cape May. I was up at the Poconos last week. There were a few up there.
My roommate wanted some.
There's a few out California way. If you head out California way, you might find some. And then my roommate took the rest. We should just save that sound effect.
Did you want more?
And create a button for it every time.
I do love how grapey the Melback is.
It's very grapey, right? It's
Not a lot of earth. I like earthy tones.
It's one of those Argentinian Malbec, one of those wines that's as close to juice as possible. You ever get that? I get that request sometimes at the wine bar, do you got anything that just tastes like juice? I was like, okay. Okay. And then for the love of God, I give him some sangria and walk away. But yeah, so that was the ultimatum. It was shit or get off the pot. I asked for 6 months. You were like, hell no. And then from there, we began
About a month later. Well, no, I'm saying a month later, I cut you off, if you recall. Yes, you forget the timeline. So he asked for, back in October, asked for 6 months. I said no. I went to Vegas early December, and then I came back, and that's when I cut it off because I knew that he wasn't ready.
No. The 6 month thing happened 2 weeks before we started dating. It was the last straw. and you said no. You went on this really dope astrology date with some guy who like ended up getting married 5 years later and like with Mickey Mouse. And then
it was a great date.
I felt that, and I was like, I need to lock in here, or I'm going to lose this person. So that was the timeline. It all happened.
The general timeline. Yes, you were cut off for a little while. I went to Vegas. Couldn't, have the fun that I wanted to have. Now, if I went, I think I should be able to have a trip there and be able to have the fun that I wanted to have the first time.
That's fair. But once we locked in, from there, slowly, the relationship turned into a big, beautiful, Jersey, greasy, techno, blazing music flower.
We don't do any of those things.
It's a Jersey flower. What is going to be on a Jersey flower? A little bit of Peniel vodka, a little bit of grease,
we don't
a
listen to
little
techno
bit of
at all.
aggression.
Aggression, there you go. Definitely passive aggression.
Oh, for sure. Leading with that and finishing with aggression if needed, especially you towards me. You have punched me before. Let's talk about that.
You have a way about you, sir. And and the thing is, I also every man that I've dated before has been macho, and we've always had a point where not that he beats the shit out of me, but like we're wrestling and like he's like, no. I remember my ex-boyfriend, because I always date wrestlers as well. My ex-boyfriend lifted me up at one because I just won't stop. I'll just keep poking and poking.
And just for reference here, I get that's a lot to say on the pod about the punch. It was a light punch. It was a little snuff. It was a baby snuff.
Where was the punch?
What you've done that gets me even more enraged over the little baby snuff punch was the throwing of the phone. You've thrown my phone up against the living room wall on 3 different occasions. In the heart of battle. In the heart of battle. In the heart of predicament.
The punch was right there. It was a
little snuff. Threw my jaw off for a couple bits.
Listen, you got to do what you got to do. I get a little angry.
So now, Robbie, let's chime in here. Where are similarities, differences from your last previous relationships? Are you getting a lot of red flags from this, or are you taking some things from this? What are your thoughts?
I feel like that could be a little healthier than the kind of like keeping it to yourself until like you do something more enraging, like, I don't know, start punching yourself in the face and like crying in a corner and like falling against the wall.
Or not saying anything at all and just coming in with a sawed-off shotgun.
Exactly.
The thing about dating you is that you're so dramatic that it definitely took me a while. Now, I literally just walk into my room and I can't talk to you right now, like, because you're so dramatic at times. And you think it's a production until you get punched in the face.
Well, because I want you to understand the feelings that are going through my body
and
what is happening
Me
and
too.
what is going to happen next. Things are not very good in my life. And you are going to listen to all of my plights. That is what it is.
That's literally what he does.
Yes. Where is Nick Ryan when we need him?
Right. Come on.
A full-on beat.
Lucas, is this a relationship dynamic that for you would be too aggressive, not enough aggressive, right in the fucking pocket? What do you think?
Probably like similar-ish. Not
I think everyone needs to find their balance. And I think you're also leaving out the fact that, I have a stable career. I have a whole other stable part of me and just this little This little pinch
Let's
of me.
preference this to the listeners. She's not a dirtbag.
Well, no, listen. I come from dirtbag, so it flares up every once in a while.
Okay.
But I am not a dirtbag.
She is not a dirtbag.
I had my first girlfriend from high school. We dated for 4 years, since senior year until I was 22. She hit me as I was driving on the highway. She just, boom. I don't know what the heck it was about, but I pulled over right away, Red Lobster parking lot, and I grabbed her and I threw her on the ground. And I drove away.
This is turning
Didn't
into...
talk to her for like 3 days.
Turning.
So this is right in the pocket for you. This is the kind of love you need. Robbie has had already sexual conquests where they weren't really a conquest for him. They were a conquest for the other woman. There's been older women that have just taken him physically and have just fucked him.
So that's
what he's done before.
I actually see you ending up or just being into... like dating a black woman for a while. Like I could see you being into that. I could see her being into your vibe and then also putting you in check. I think you guys
That's my first girlfriend.
Really?
Yep.
I'm good at this.
Did she just take her day out on you some days?
You guys are probably a beautiful couple. What happened in that relationship?
Oh, I had enough. But it was interesting. There was
That's
the
the side.
first the first like we were hanging out, we were pretty close, and like she was like unclear about certain things, and I'd never like said the phrase, which do people, I don't think people even say this anymore, like, will you be my girlfriend? Like, I never said that phrase, and like we were hanging out, having a good time, and then she rides back to NYU. I was in high school, she was going to NYU at the time, and she calls me on the train back crying, like, I can't believe you didn't ask me out. I'm just like, oh, and like she was crying, like in tears. I'm just like, will you be my girlfriend? She's like, yes. Oh, thanks so much. I'm like, oh, okay. Right, then we were dating for a while, and she was in NYU. I was in high school, and it was fun. I'd go up to the city.
She was older.
And she'd roll with a crew of like 20 people into a subway car, go to all these parties, and go to all this stuff.
Robbie, I need to know what your dick is like, because it sounds to me like you either have some girth, some size, or both.
I have a problem with magnums. They're very tight. I can't find a fucking condom that doesn't make me want to kill myself.
And I think the right kind of woman senses that. I think that's part of the aura that attracts.
It's intellectual big dick energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a title.
IBDE.
That is a great title.
That's a title. That's a title.
The beauty of intellectual big dick energy is that there's no aggression involved. It's, let me tell you about this NASA project, and yes, my dick is starting to pop out of my pants a little bit. It's coming down the left thigh because I was so excited with the possibility of finding ultra-solar energy that would help with government waste when we go to Mars. Like that is the kind of thing.
No, small dick energy. The thing about that is that the dick is there. It doesn't even need to get bigger. It's just there.
Well, it's also an intellectual.
No, as they're talking about NASA, but it's not engorged. It's literally just there.
Yeah.
And that's the appeal.
Yeah.
On the subject of cock, I shaved my balls for the first time I think ever. I've always only just trimmed. Was
this with an electric shaver? Was this with a regular shaver with like shaving cream? How do we do this?
Electric, no cream.
Yeah, that's the way I go too.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Like once a year.
I do not shave my balls enough. And that is that's a good pillar, I think, of marriage, actually. I'm glad you brought that up because there's nothing that says faithful than a big old Wolverine bush after a couple months and just being completely okay with that. You know, obviously, when you're single, you have a ticking time bomb of how hairy is it going to get, right? But then once you are married, and if you're happily married, which
almost immediately after you were married.
Well, because I knew the day that I married you was I felt like I was Kobe, just watching my jersey go up into the rafters. I knew it was over. It was retirement, baby. I was there with friends and family. It was over because being single takes work. It's exhausting. It's a lot of energy. Even being engaged to a psychopath also takes work. And that day was the official retirement for my penis, and we just let the bush grow. It was like I was
started crossing his legs.
I was watching a lot of the Alaskan Bush People. There were a lot of imagery in my head. That was one of my favorite shows at the time. So there was something about watching a hairy family live off the land and getting married to you. I put those two concepts together, and my ball hair did get out of control. Fair? Yes. Sorry, not sorry, right? But at the end of the day, what does that say about my faithfulness? I'm not going to bring that bush to anybody else. What are we doing? What do we do with a like at some point, you have to, what are we talking about? You have to protect the brand. The same way you protect that saxophone guy brand. My penis is a brand, not a great one, but you don't want to have a bush there taking away from the brand. I think it speaks on my love for you.
The bigger the bush, the greater the love.
So
fair, absolutely.
So that bush, like how far up does it go? I'm gonna block the camera here, but like I went down. Like, does it go like? All of this is gone, or you just leave some of this, or like
when I was shaving, I go right up to the shaft, to the end of the landing strip. I have the landing strip that goes from the belly button down to it's that little fleshy area of skin that starts to become the upper dick area, right?
Upper fupa.
Upper fupa. Exactly. Yes,
that's a fun word.
I love that word.
I think you got to shave the full fupa. You can't leave some of the fupa out there. Now you have this weird inorganic hair floating around, you know. But the landing strip from the belly button down is nice, especially if it's not all over the place. Like I'm very happy with. I have like a little strip there. My back is getting a little bit on the hairy side. You've noticed it. We need to take care of that. But at the end of the day, I have a nice belly button landing strip. think I'm pretty content with where that is.
Oh, that's awesome. You got like a little like follow this path type situation.
Look right here. I'll show you. It's a little like follow the yellow brick road. Follow the hairy brick road right there.
And
see?
it continues
and
on down.
It directs you to something that's going to be very like It doesn't fit the headliner. If it's bringing to the headliner, you're going to be like, who got this headliner?
If they
Who
look at
found
your
them?
hands, they would know.
Who found the headliner? This is an underwhelming headliner. That's what it's going to say. But the good thing, and I pointed this out to Charlie in the training episode, is because of my long torso and me not having as long of legs, I get a head start with my penis. My penis looks like it's hanging lower than it is because my legs are not as long as they should be for a 6'6" man. So, hey, there's little games you can play.
Well, you know what's so funny? Whenever I try to explain to you pretty much any scenario, it usually, to you, in your world, ends with someone eating someone else's ass.
Because it's
so I could tell you how the story ends.
It's authentic.
I could tell you every one of Sam's
It gets back
story
to
ends.
wine. It gets back to terroir. We talked about terroir today with Malbec.
Oh my
What makes
God.
up good terroir? The soil, the climate, the emotion in and around the vineyard. Is there anything more
Sam.
emotional in and around the vineyard than what's in that woman's asshole?
I have to tell you.
Engulf all of that. You're going to know what her thoughts, feelings, emotions are all about. It gets back in life and wine. You have to appreciate the terroir. The terroir will tell you everything, and that is...
Do you know this man is very lucky that you are not in your 20s right now, because the new thing, I don't know if you guys have been seeing this on TikToks and Instagram, is taking the ass shot. And not the ass shot we saw on Bar Rescue, but a legitimate, it's more of a beer thing. I saw someone do it on Instagram the other day on a boat. And the girl's, thong was in her ass, and the other girl poured the beer down her back and then slurped the beer from her asshole.
I would have throat cancer. I would have throat cancer
exactly.
in my mid-20s.
If this is now accepted, it's just Sam will have
I wouldn't
the
have made it to 31.
ass-taking station.
Oh, for sure.
Accompanying my buddy Lucas here to a wedding. It ends up that the wedding he's at didn't work out for me to sit in. I was thinking about sitting in and doing some piano.
Cocktail hour thing.
Yeah, cocktail hour thing. Didn't work out. Anyway, I just ended up hanging out around there. And he finishes up. We're hanging out. And then we go to the bathroom. We're both in the men's bathroom together. And I'm just like peeing in the urinal. He's in the stall. Just cock in hand.
Big dick energy. Go on.
Cock in hand. I turn
Of course he took the
around.
stall.
There is a blonde, like a sexy big blonde, like with her tits out in the men's bathroom behind me, like smiling and like giving me a certain look. So I just turn around and look at her. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Piss, shake. And then, put my dick away. I go over and she looks at me, just smiling, and goes over to the urinal. I'm like, okay. I like wash my hands, kind of laughing. And
I'm still in the toilet room.
You lose on the toilet. He hears like some sort of like high pitched chuckle. He's kind of like,
I'm like, what the
I
fuck?
say, are you all right? Like, what's going on? And I'm not saying anything because I don't know what the fuck's going on. Anyway, I wash my hands and I look over, and then she kind of grabs me. She's like, can you help me take this bottom off? She grabs my hand and puts it on her belt, and I'm like, okay. So I just like take off her belt and like throw it on the stall. Like, Luke's made see the belt, like a belt, like come over
pissing still.
to his stall.
Belt just hits right there. What the I come out.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and then she's this beautiful blonde, like her back is against the stall where I just peed. And she just like pulls me in and starts kissing my neck, and she goes, "Oh, thank you so much." I'm just like, "Oh God."
Was she a wedding guest?
Maybe a bridesmaid.
Oh,
I
man,
don't
New
know.
Jersey. You gotta love it.
The shore. Jersey Shore.
Yeah, because that could happen. That would happen in the Midwest, but the woman wouldn't be a hot blonde. You know what I mean? It'd be a different scenario.
I just think that middle-aged, decently attractive women use you for chores sexually.
You are a good addition to the collection for a cougar.
You're a great kind of like attractive guy that can dick around on the piano and help like a woman in a midlife crisis clean her kitchen. There's something beautiful about that.
I actually thought you were going to say clean her asshole.
No,
I'm thrown
no,
off
you'll-
here now. I'm thrown off here now.
You don't want to always go right to the asshole. We can end with that, right? After you bleach the kitchen island, and then you could finish off with that. That's the main course. But the idea of you in the outfit you're in, you have like a little Fisher-Price piano in the corner. She tells you to go to the corner sometimes after she got into a raging fight with her ex over alimony, right? You just play for her, right? It gets back to the thing I said about you a couple weeks ago. What was the moment that you found music. I think it was being told by a middle-aged, beautiful woman in a crisis to play for her, right? And to clean for her and to do like a chore, and then that would lead one thing to another. But that is where all of these stories kind of get back to. A woman told you to do something aggressively. Why would she tell anybody else?
But did you do it? What did you do on her pee-stained back as she's kissing your neck now?
On her pee-stained back, as she's kissing my neck, and as Lucas also thought was the right thing, we were just thinking like, and you could tell me what you would have done, but we were just like, okay, what if this is crazy? This is a hoax. What if her man's outside with a gun? I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. See you later. You're drunk. Goodbye. And I just kind of like ziddled out of there.
That's a responsible choice. Choice. He would have taken the blowjob.
I would have at least exchanged social media handles. We would have followed each other. I would have followed up, and we would have gotten coffee. We wouldn't have gotten lunch or dinner or drinks. We would have gotten coffee
and anal,
and we would have disagreed politically. Either the coffee would have started fine, and then she would have started saying things like "all lives matter," and I'm like, "Well, that's not really the point. It's like if one house is burning, what house are you going to hit first? If you're a fireman, the house that needs the help the most." And she's going to go, "My dad has a boat." And I'm going to go, "Not important to this conversation. Can I please get another latte?" Then we would start to, now we're enraged at each other. Now I just want to get on a common island with this woman. At this point, I never want to see her again, but I want to keep seeing her today because I want things to end in a good place. So from there, we go out afterwards. We get like Rita's. Rita's is safe. It's not too aggressive unless you get the mango with the chocolate custard. Doesn't make any sense. It's a horrible combination. But I would get something like that just because I lived in that moment. That moment was a horrible combination because why am I still with this person, right? And we would keep walking, and then next thing you know, cop car would drive by. She would say, "Listen, at the end of the day, you got to respect the police." And I go, "Sure, but, being an unarmed black man probably is a little bit scary," and that's when we would leave, right? And then that would be the end of the conversation, and nobody would grow, nobody would advance, nobody would move on. We'd never see each other again, but that is why these situations are better to happen to you because you got to do the chore, and then you nip it in the bud, and you move on. As a single guy, I never nip things in the bud. I was like on the third interaction with some woman that should have never been a thing. And I'm like, why am I getting coffee with these people? I'm getting coffee with these animals. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
He needed entertainment, and I was then vicariously entertained through him.
Yeah. So I think the point is that is one of the staples of intellectual big dick energy. Do the chore, nip it in the bud, move on.
Big tits.
Big tits. Good. Thank you.
Amen.
Well, Gina, first and foremost, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, thank you, baby.
We've been leading up to this, right?
Thank you for taking me here.
Sure.
Drive me home now.
Thank you for agreeing to this is part of your day, right? This is the.
Tis.
It was. So appreciate that. As always, guys, this has been the Digestif. You can follow us on social media, Instagram at @the_Digestif. We post short clips of the show. You can see the video reels there. Check our YouTube channel out for all of the live video updates. We also have our link to Spotify on the Instagram handle, but it's at the Digestif. You can also follow myself on all social media platforms at Vino Comic. That's Vino_comic. Going to start doing some more live dates soon as we head into the fall and winter. Going to start doing some more wineries again. This is the time to start talking about fermented grape juice in an angry fashion. My co-host, Robbie Sco, where can we follow you, hear about you?
Instagram as well, Robbie Sco, ROBBIESKO on Instagram, as well as YouTube, Robbie Sco, as well as
That Saxophone Guy.
That Saxophone Guy. Hell yeah. Thank you guys again.
So what you do is you say, I was Lucas Perez. It was a pleasure to be here. You can follow me at that saxophone. You can be a professional.
I don't want.
For the love of God, be a professional. Okay.
I don't want to be.
Until next time. Thank you.